everybody, this is Bernie from Stampin' Eat and welcome to another Friday card making session with me, and it's so great to have you join me. Thank you for clicking on the video, and I hope today is going to be a very inspirational time of creativity with me. I want to show you today how I created this card using the beautiful decorative masks, and I also wanted to show you this. I thought I would feature it using the beautiful artfully composed designer series paper, and I used a tone-on-tone look with this. So I pulled through the colors Calypso Coral and Pear Pizzazz and Evening Evergreen to create this very, very vibrant card. Not altogether my colors, but I thought it came together beautifully. And then at the end of the video, I will show you how I did exactly the same paper series and exactly the same decorative mask, but I actually used embossing paste, and how that just gives it a whole different look. So stay with me to the end so that I'll show you. So this video is going to be a little bit longer today because I do want to show you how you work with the decorative masks. So let's get started. So you can choose to have any card base that you prefer, and I am going to use just my standard measurements of 5.5 by 8.25, scored at 4 1/8. In this case, I'm using the basic white thick cardstock, so set that to the side. And then for my embossed, because if you have a look at the back, there's some embossing over there, and I am using the Splatters 3D folder, and I will put a link up at the top of this section of the video where I actually use this 3D folder in another video. It's beautiful. It just creates a little bit of texture. It looks like water droplets. I really love it. So I'm going to emboss this piece of white cardstock, and then I'm going to glue it on to the base. So I'm just going to step away from my desk and do that quickly. Alright, so I've embossed that with the beautiful Splatters 3D folder, and now you can just glue it onto your card base. And of course, if you don't have the embossing folder that I've chosen for today's project, you can use any embossing folder, or you can just leave it plain. You don't actually have to even emboss it, but I'm a bit of a sucker for embossing, so I will usually use embossing. Then the next thing you need is a piece of designer series paper, and you'll need to cut it at 5 1/8 by 3 3/4, and that is going to go at an angle on your top of your embossed cardstock or non-embossed cardstock, depending on what you're doing. I like to normally orientate this part of the designer series paper, oops, that slightly moved. I like to orientate it sort of more towards the left. So that's the next step in this project. And then the next thing you're going to need, because this is really very busy paper, I've actually put a layer of vellum. So I've cut my vellum at 5 by 3 5/8, and you do not want glue showing through because you want it to highlight your designer series paper. So I like to use adhesive sheets when I'm working with vellum that I know will be a feature of my card. So I have cut the vellum, or rather the adhesive sheet, I'm just checking I have, just a little bit narrower than the vellum, and so that is, I think, what was that, 4 and it'll be 4 7/8 by around 3 1/2. Now you'll see they've got some creases, and there's a sticky side and then there's a non-sticky side. So I just lift this up and attach it on the edge. You can do it any way. Each person really does it differently. It depends on which way you pull off the adhesive sheet. Sometimes I pull off the correct side and sometimes I pull off the incorrect side. Then you've got another layer that you will then lift, and as you can see, I hope, can you see that glue bit there? That's what's going to stick behind. So I just pull this off. All right. And that is going to go at the opposite direction to what you have your designer series paper. So you just want to adhere that down. And just make sure it's down firm. And by using the adhesive sheets, you can instantly see that the design has softened and it's all visible. So you're not going to see any glue streaks. The Tombow will leave a streak, and I have actually spoken about that in a previous video. So it's not as suitable to use a liquid glue when you are using vellum. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side because we are now going to start on the actual masking, the decorative side of it. So I like to use shimmer paper, or you can use watercolor paper, just so that it makes sure, I mean, it's a personal preference, but normally I will find that if I'm using the embossing paste, I like to use the shimmer paper just because there's a lot more pigmentation that goes in. Now you're going to need some post-it notes, and what you are doing is you really need to make sure that you are masking off all of the areas that you are not going to color in. It is a little bit time consuming if you're using a very detailed mask, but it is critical that you do this step so that you don't if you miss out, if you take shortcuts on this step, you will land up with a very messy design and it won't look pretty at all. And then I just take it one step further and use washi tape, or you can use masking tape, and I just hold the whole design down, and I just use it there as well so that nothing is moving. Okay. All right, so now that I've set that up, the next thing we're going to do is select colors. So bear in mind, this is the base. So if I show you on this card, what we're going to color in now is this section over here. And then we're going to lift this all and we're going to put the mask on top of what we've colored in. And that's going to be a darker shade, or you can go dark and light. But I usually go light and dark. So I'm going to pull the colors through from the paper, and I'm using Calypso Coral and Pear Pizzazz. And so I tried making this design with embossing paste. I had to think for a minute with embossing paste. And oh my gosh, it didn't work that well with these colors. It might just be that I wasn't having a good embossing paste day. So I opted instead to use my blending brushes to get the effect that I'm looking for. So you can see I'm just very softly layering these, the base. So that's Calypso Coral. And I'm not going to go very dark on this base layer. Then with my green blending brush, I'm going to go with the Pear Pizzazz. And I'm going to do the leaves, or the, sorry, not the leaves, the flowers. And again, this is just a personal taste as to how dark or light you make that. All right, now we're going to lift up what we have just put down. So just lift it up very carefully. Okay. Alright, so now we've got that look. And if you have a look at the top of your decorative mask, you'll see this is the design that we are now going to place on top. And it has, I'll just bring this closer. So do you see those center points of the flowers? And this is the mask we're doing. So there's a center point in each. That is going to be what you are focusing on. So you need to get this, you'll see it, there we go. So the symmetry of that is really important so that this next step will work properly. So lifting up my mask, I'm going to, or my post-it notes, I'm going to come at the top. I'm now coming down here, but I'm going to lift that up because it's going to be at a different position. Okay, I'm just going to use my washi tape to secure this, and then I'm actually going to mask off. You'll see there are two bits there and they need to be masked off. Remember what I said a little while ago? This step is critical so that you don't have any bits that accidentally get missed when you're using your blending brushes, and it will happen. So I'm now using the brand new, actually let me just close this and show you. This is one of the new in-colors for 2022-2024, Sweet Sorbet, and it pairs beautifully with Calypso Coral. If I put those together, look at that, isn't that beautiful? So I instinctively thought, the darker one is going to be Sweet Sorbet. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm coming in here on my flower. I can see my mask is slightly skewer compared to the one I did before. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this design looks like in comparison to the first one I did. So that's enough. I've got enough of that. And then the dark green, I am using Evening Evergreen for that green contrast. And I'm going to just come in here. And with the Evening Evergreen, I'm actually not doing too much because it's a very dark green. All right, now it's show and tell time. Let's see what this looks like. So just lift off your mask carefully. And there we have, look at that, isn't that beautiful? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to fussy cut this. I'm going to then adhere it on my card. So I'm going to fussy cut that and I will come back to you. All right. Okie dokie, so there we've got that all beautifully fussy cut. So now the next thing is to adhere this onto the card front. I'm going to use some of this gold twine and I'm going to pop some swirls in the middle, and I first adhere that with some tear and tape. Just thinking I might have gone too big for them. Oops, too late. All right, that's okay. So with your twine or with your thread, whatever you're using, just put it in the first swirl, just stick it onto the glue, and then you've got your next swirl, and then you've got your next one. That one's not going down. And I will end it there. I'm just looking for my scissors. All right. And now I'm going to adhere this design with dimensionals. So I'm using my large dimensionals. Oops, that was 2 at one go. Cheeky. And I'm just taking my sharp tool to lift those off. Alrighty, we almost finished. So you can decide what orientation you want, but do just cover that sticky bit that you adhered for the swirls. So we're almost finished now. The last bit we have to do is put a sentiment on. So I am going to use the opposite side of this designer series paper, which is why I absolutely love using Stampin' Up! Designer series paper, because they work together. And the Calypso coral there is just gorgeous. I'm going to stamp the sentiment in Evening Evergreen because it's nice and dark. And I'm going to use the same sentiment, You Touched My Heart, which comes from the Plentiful Plants stamp set, which is yay, carrying over to the brand new catalog, which comes out next week, the 3rd of May. That is so exciting. I am going to freestyle, just cut this freehand. And again, I'm just going to cut this at I just want to show you the difference. So, you know, if I was to leave this plain compared to putting it at an angle, it would be, yep, okay. But by cutting this at an angle, as close to the letters, to the words as possible, it just gives it a little bit of a different interest. It just, oops, there goes my microphone cable in front of the lens. All right, so we are there. We are almost there. I'm going to glue this down with my Tombow. Do remember, if you're brand new using Tombow, less is more. It is a very strong adhesive. You don't need a lot. So Tombow. Now, I have a question for you. Do I put the gems on there, or do I leave it plain? So the gems are from they polished dots. Do I leave it plain, or do I leave it with, do I put pearls on, polished dots on? I'm going to leave that for you to comment in the comment box. Which do you prefer, with the opals or without? So there, have a look at that. We've got 2 beautiful cards using the decorative mask and also highlighting a little bit of the brand new Sweet Sorbet. But this is the other one I wanted to show you, where it's the identical concept, different colors. I did this for a color inspiration, different colors, but here I used my re-inkers and I used my embossing paste to get this look. So that's quite an interesting different way that you can use your decorative masks as well. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video today, and that it has inspired you to try out the new decorative masks. They are beautiful, and you can come up with so many different color schemes using them. There are a lot of other projects on my blog, so do feel free to go and have a look and a visit there, as well as I regularly post on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest as well. And just a reminder to subscribe to my channel if this is the first time you're watching. My goal, I'm reasonably new at doing these, so my goal is to reach 50 subscribers, and I would love it if you would support me by subscribing and hitting the bell so that you are reminded when I come in on a Friday with a new video. And thank you to those that have subscribed in the last few weeks. I really do appreciate it. So that's me for this Friday card making session. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And thank you once again. And remember, until we meet again, stamp, eat, sleep, repeat. Bye.